The following program is a presentation of the Options Insider Radio Network. For more programs, visit www.theoptionsinsider.com or search for Options Insider Radio in iTunes.
And now, it's time for the show that breaks down the options market. From unusual activity alerts to market updates and trading strategies. If it involves puts and calls, then our all-star panel will break it down. It's time to hit the Option Block. With your host, Mark Longo from theoptionsinsider.com and co-hosts Mike Tusaw from KnowYourOptionsInc.com and Mark Sebastian from OptionBid.com. The Option Block is brought to you by Options Express. Don't spend time worrying about your broker. At Options Express, security, stability, and account protection are the most important responsibilities to our customers. Secure account access, enhanced financial protection, entrusted with over $7 billion in customer assets, established financial stability. Options Express lets you trade with confidence. Stocks, options, and futures all in one account. Trade with a specialist. Visit optionsexpress.com/OXradio to open your free account. Options Express is a member of FINRA, SIPC, and NFA.
And welcome to the Option Block. We are indeed joined by a motley cast of characters here, starting off with the intermittent Tim Navabi. I hope, as I say this, the OX Wi-Fi gods will allow you to answer. So, Tim, are you indeed there?
I am here, yes.
Good,
thank you.
Good. And how is your week going so far, sir?
The week is going good. Let me think back here. Not too much, just one of those typical kind of summer days, summer weeks. Nothing too exciting. So yeah, a lot of drama, I think, about the markets. Everyone's a little bit confused.
I'd imagine you guys would be pretty heavy on the call volume these days. That's not the case?
It's sporadic, There'll be a lot of, news or something that seems like it's newsworthy, and the phones will kind of light up, and then, nothing gets done in Washington, then all of a sudden they kind of died back down. So it's sporadic.
Sporadic,
to choose, yeah.
So how important is this? How important is this vote tonight, you think? I mean, is that what everybody's waiting on, to see if the Republicans actually pass their own plan?
It seems to be the next obstacle to overcome. Yeah,
There's no way President Obama vetoes it. I'm sorry. It's impossible. Will not happen.
You don't think so, huh?
It was expected to pass, right?
It's borderline right now, from my understanding, of whether it'll pass or not. Because I think what it is, there's a lot of Tea Party Republicans that think that it's not enough of a cut, and the more moderate Republicans want to get something through to pass it. So
yeah, those Tea Party guys, they're going to be in line. I guarantee it. They're not going to vote against the party.
Especially on a vote that is ostensibly for fiscal responsibility, which is supposed to be their main reason for being these days.
Well,
right.
From my understanding of it, their argument is that it doesn't cut enough and it's not fiscally responsible, so they want to make a stink at some point. Why not now? It sees to be the Tea Party logic and the opposition of it.
Yeah, well, that doesn't make any sense. There's no way that Boehner would put it to vote if he didn't have the votes.
That's true. Well, before we piss off any of our Tea Party fans in the audience, let me introduce the rest of the panel. That booming voice from the mountains you hear is none other than the man from the mountains himself, a card-carrying member of the Tea Party, good old Uncle Mike Tusaw. How are you doing there, sir?
Tea Party's a bit too liberal for me. No, just kidding. I personally dislike all politicians, I think. I'm not...
He's a tea bagger. He's not a Tea Partier. He just got confused.
Yeah, I'm a lot of things.
We definitely espouse a libertarian philosophy, it seems like, on this show collectively.
I think everybody here believes in free markets and get out of my way kind of approach. Stop me if I'm wrong, Tim Navabi.
No, you're absolutely right. I don't know one regulator that can really describe what a synthetic is, or, shorting against the box, or So I'm with you.
I think they can describe shorting against the box.
That bit of lewd commentary on our regulatory framework comes from none other than the Seabass, a.k.a. the manager of the mini metals, a.k.a. the greasy meatball, good old Mark Sebastian from OptionPit.com. How are you doing today, sir?
I'm doing fabulous.
Dialing to us again by phone, but this time not in the good graces of the Naked Goddess series.
I know. I'm actually in my office. I need to buy a new microphone, so I am going to be via phone. Trading, we're going to, this is the highest, we're at the highest VIX level since close, that is, since Japan. We intraday broke where we are today, but VIX closed on its highs. We'll talk about this in the trading block, but interesting day to be trading, and I think tomorrow is going to be a fascinating day to watch.
Let's just dive right into the trading block, then we'll get into the meat of it.
The trading block.
And welcome to the Trading Block. This is, of course, a portion of the show where we dissect what is trading, what is moving the broad markets today. And it was an interesting day of vacillation on the street today. We were up, we were down, we were unched, and then we closed down. The S&P closed down about 4.5 handles to 1,300, nearly 1,300 even. That all so important Uncle Mike support level of 1,300. Then we have the Dow closed down about 62 handles to 12,240, and the NASDAQ bucking the trend up 1.5 handles to 2766, and the good old VIX cash, as the Seabass alluded to, strong today, up 0.76 points to 2374. It's funny how it gapped up towards the end of the day again there, because when I checked about 45 minutes before the close, half an hour before the close, I think we were hovering around 22.5 or so, so it gapped up another 1.25 or so points in that time.
Well, do you know, the VIX actually had a nice range day. It was the low was 21.20, the high was 23.99, touching 24. So, that's one of those days. If you look, anytime we're topping out, you always get one of these weird high range days. Now, the weird thing is that normally it's a spike up and then kind of an easing down, and then we sell off. Today it was kind of an easing down, then a spike up at the end of the day. So I'm going to be real interested to see where we go from here. We're going to be, if this vote fails tonight, wouldn't be shocked to see 27 tomorrow, maybe 28, with the SPUs at, 1260. That'd be my thought. Maybe even 30. I think if we can sell off 27 handles yesterday, we could sell off 40 on a no vote.
Obviously, we still have a few days till the deadline, which is Tuesday, I believe, August 2nd. So it will be a lot of fervent negotiating over the weekend if they don't pass this vote tonight. But I know, Uncle Mike, you're a big fan here of this 1,300 level. The support resistance here, kind of a little moot given all the external factors at play. But what's your feelings here? You think we could be off 30-plus handles tomorrow, too, if this vote doesn't pass?
No, I kind of with you, Mark, in that I don't know if tonight, if we get a no vote tonight, I'm not convinced it's going to be that bad for the market. It could. It depends on what the margins are. It depends on terms of if they're off by like maybe one vote or something like that. I think that depends. I'm not sure a no vote's necessarily going to send it too much lower tonight. I think that just from what my feel of this is that August 2nd is the doomsday date, if you will, but I could be wrong. So I think that without a doubt, the events going on trump any chart or any technical indicator by far right now.
Mm-hmm.
It always makes me nervous when we see political analysts turning into armchair financial analysts and vice versa. When these two poles become so crossed that all of a sudden we here in the markets are counting votes down in D.C. and all these, nonsense external factors that really shouldn't have perhaps as big of a sway as they do, but nonetheless do indeed, look at today, they do indeed move markets. And, we debated on the live show, we debated on other shows in the past, what really is the significance if we do indeed indeed default, quote unquote? I mean, would it be as significant as the shutdown back in the 90s? Would it be, as some of our people argued on the live show last week, essentially not a non-event, but nowhere near as dire as perhaps the media is making this out? There's a lot of wiggle room in here. I mean, Sebastian, you think we could be down 30 handles tomorrow? That's pretty dire sounding to me.
No, I don't think it is at all. I mean, all it is, hey, uncertainty. People want out of the market. If we can, like I said, we still have 27 handles today. If you see a no vote tomorrow, I mean, does that add or does that decrease or increase uncertainty?
No vote tomorrow.
That just the same.
Yeah, I'd say it's a scratch. I'd say it's a scratch.
No, I mean, I think it absolutely increases. I mean, the yes vote definitely decreases. All right, which we're going to get a huge snapback if it passes. Because I'm sorry, but I'm telling you, if they get something through the House, it will get through the Senate. They won't kill it in the Senate. Nobody's that dumb. And there is no way the president vetoes it. If he vetoes it, he is making such a massive political mistake that it'd be insane. So
it would be hard for him to argue that he's the centrist guy who wants to cross party lines if he vetoes that.
Yeah, and it'll pass in the House, or it'll pass in the Senate. There's no way it doesn't. And then, because if Reed's willing to put it to a vote, then there's no reason something wouldn't pass. No, I mean, I think that is a really bad sign within that there's just no way to reach a compromise if this thing can't pass. If the Republicans' own plan cannot pass, then how in the world does a mutual plan pass? There's just no way. And I think it sends us tumbling. I think we 1270, 1260. Who knows? And I see that's where the VIX threatens 30.
Speaking of,
maybe I'm doom and gloom, but that's just the way I feel.
You sound like the Gregas of old.
Short oil.
How important is GDP tomorrow? With the vote, without the vote, anything?
I think it's a non-event.
Well, with the vote, if the vote passes and then that GDP number comes in, that could turn what will already be a decent day into a great day. And if the number is kind of then it'll just probably be a pretty decent day. That'd be my thoughts. I don't know. What do you guys think?
No vote, no good GDP. Look out below, huh?
No vote, no good GDP. That's like your last girlfriend ugly.
Wow. them's fighting words, sir. For a man who had such the bouffant do at the live event, sir, I'm sure the ladies are flocking to you day in, day out.
Mm-hmm.
And I think
I'm 100. That's why I can make that joke. Notice I don't make that joke about any of the other clowns.
And if you're wondering why he doesn't respond, it's because the OX Wi-Fi gods have mocked him again.
Really?
The second you refer to him, it's you refer to OX, they just get booted. It's crazy. So yeah, Tusaw, let's keep the tone then going here with obviously all this consternation causing some tumult in the metals these days. You still just staying long with the downside collar and no upside covered call, or have you revised that at all?
Not as of yet. For now, I'm just going to leave the no covered call. I'm still going with no covered call for the meantime because if we could get a surge up in gold and silver if we do get more uncertainty and people want to flock to something.
I agree with you there. I don't think it makes a lot of sense to sell anything in any kind of gold calls because I don't even think, even with a vote pass, I don't think gold's gonna drop back down to 140. So I just don't see how a covered call makes a ton of sense at all. So I agree with you 100% there, Mike T.
Leave it open that we get some uncertainty. Buy some gold.
Sebastian, the precious metals guru, are you staying the same on Ford as well here, or just staying long the stock, no upside coverings here? Hovering at the 12 level here?
Yeah, working to get back into selling some premium, and I'm still looking into doing some ratio spreads, but I'm staying out of it for the time being, though. Just probably in the next week or so, we'll be back getting to some type of a stock repair or something along those lines.
Speaking of premium, have you noticed today with all the new weeklies coming online just how many of these high beta stocks are really pricing in some debt premium into some of these weeklies? It's amazing. Some of these things are suddenly off that you're like, wow, that's rich. And you realize, wait a minute, this rolls through the debt deadline. And I can see a lot of people out there maybe who aren't quite as thorough or methodical pulling the trigger perhaps when they should not be, because there's so many like Ford and others, so many of these high beta stocks that would be hit pretty hard if the debt deal didn't go through. Just really looking rich in the weeklies right now.
Oh yeah, I was just looking at the SPX weekly that was at the money when it was at 13.15 this morning. I think the at the money straddle was something like 40 or 45 right when it came out too.
Yeah, it's looking heavy. Oh, and speaking of rich and things that are trading right now, we do have some earnings after the bell right now. Good old MMI, Motorola Inc. This is their mobility arm. When they spun off, I believe it was earlier, was it first quarter, second quarter? I forgot when they did it. But they spun off the garbage and kept the good stuff in MMI. And they have earnings after it closed. The stock was actually down pretty hard today. It took a downturn towards the end of the day. It had been trading like 23.5. It closed 22.91, down about 90 cents or nearly 4%. And in the after hours, it's like the earnings weren't good, but not exactly destroying the game here either. It closed at 22.91. In the after hours, it's trading around 21.40 right now, so down about $1.50. So not that bad. If you were trading, some short strangles out there or something along those lines, like I know a lot of people were going into this, particularly the 21.27 strangles seem to be a pretty popular sale going into these earnings. And it looks like if these levels hold, you'll be faring all right. But yeah, we'll keep you updated here on MMI. But yeah, that playbook and not the playbook, but just the Zoom and the other tablets they had, and some of the other things coming out of Motorola didn't exactly light the world on fire. We also saw Exxon missing their earnings, which I think might have surprised some people given what we've been seeing happening in the oil sector. Tusa, you play it all in Exxon?
It's actually one that I'm not in. I like Chevron. I like Chesapeake Energy. It's from what I can tell, and it seems to shift in terms of which companies have more natural gas exposure, but I'm a little bit more into companies that have a little bit more in the shale and natural gas exposure.
Well, I know that you're in an office with Kavanaugh, so I'm sure you have a ton of natural gas exposure sitting next to him. Unbelievable.
We got to get into the natural gas just for that reason, right?
Absolutely.
They always, what Peter Lynch say, trade what you know, right?
They trade what you know. So
it's a good thing he left early at the live event. We would have had no audience left by the end of the 3 hours.
I walked into the live event and Kavanaugh goes, "Hey Sebastian, you got a match?" Because he wanted to let us start.
Yes, thank you for that clarification, sir. All right, and with that, I think we're going to close out the old trading block. Oh, I did see something. Did you see that maybe ISE had some problems today, Mr. Navabi? It looks like I got a lot of messages coming in this morning that they were being delinked by a lot of exchanges. Did you see that as well, or is that just a momentary hiccup?
I think that was a momentary hiccup. I didn't get anything from my execution desk on that.
I got a flurry of frantic messages from NYSE in the morning saying, "Oh, we're delinking from NISE." I thought maybe it was interesting because there had been some back and forth there, but no.
I bet it was just something small.
So, hey, Mark, speaking of the ISE, what do you think about the fact that they spend all this money? Deutsche spends all this money upgrading their new system, and everyone's saying that they're going to be the one that's spun off when the merger goes through?
Yeah, it's kind of ironic. That has been...
What do you think about that?
That has been, the ISE people, to listen to them, that has been kind of their mantra for over 2 years now. Whenever you meet with them, whenever you talk with, Gary Katz and those guys over there, they've been saying, wait till we get the new platform coming in from Deutsche Börse. That's when we're really going to reverse the losses here, and it's going to look fantastic. It's going to bring back a lot of volume. They've been saying that for well over 2 years. It got delayed substantially. They finally rolled it out this year, and like we said, we're seeing mixed results on it. People like it. It's pretty much brought them up to par with what the other exchanges are offering in a lot of areas. But yeah, I've been saying this from the beginning with that deal is ISE makes no sense in that trifecta of exchanges. And if they do get spun off, it would be, I suppose, the height of irony that it was their corporate overlords who in many ways contributed to the problems at ISE by delaying that upgrade for so long and making ISE trying to compete with essentially antiquated tech for the past 2 years and losing market share because of it. And then now that they finally do this deal, they might have to divest some or all of what is ISE because it quite frankly competes with the other two exchanges that exist right now in NYSE. And it doesn't make a heck of a lot of sense to own and fully operate all three exchanges as separate entities. Maybe you pull some of that ISE tech into the other two. Maybe you keep some of the expertise from that and you just divest the rest. I don't know what the exact proportions are, but
well, who's going to pay for it? I mean, what do you pay for the ISE? And who buys them? The SIBO?
Wouldn't that be? Wouldn't that be the
would love to do that.
That would be just the ultimate feather in their. I think they might do it just to say they did. Yeah, 10 years later to gobble up their once mighty Leviathan.
You know what the SIBO would do? The SIBO, everybody from the SIBO would drive to New York, go to this ISE's office, and just take a pee all over the rug. That's what they do.
And for those of you out there who don't know, if you were a floor trader on the SIBO in the late 90s, the ISE was the looming Leviathan on the horizon that was going to destroy your way of life. And every single day when it got slow on the floor, people would just make markets on how long the SIBO had left to exist. Because
we did the same thing on the Amex.
Yeah, well, Amex too. But you had a reason to do that at the Amex. Traders are a grim lot by design, I think.
We were right there. Well, I remember one of the funniest things is when I was up first starting when I just moved back to Chicago, I turned around from the top step of the SPX, and behind me was a empty pit, and somebody had printed on like the old school computer paper. Like that long computer paper where it have the
dot matrix stuff,
the little divots on the thing. It was all like little DPI, and someone had just printed the pit of the future across. And I always just thought that was so funny, and yet they were completely correct.
That sounds about right, yes. But to answer your question, yes, I think it's the height of irony. And if they had to wait this long for Deutsche Börse to get their act together and finalize their tech, and then if they, as a result of this, they become spun off by Deutsche Börse in this deal, it would be, I suppose, ironic is the best. But who would buy them? I think SIBO would be ironic. I don't think it has a chance of happening. I don't know. I have to mull over who would want
SIBO, that. SIBO would make a bid on them if they intend to go it alone. You would think. Wouldn't you think?
I don't know. Do they have the capital at this point? Their stock is not exactly lighting up the tape. They don't really have
well, how much is the ICE worth?
That's a good question at this point. I think Deutsche Börse has written down several hundred, if not up to 400 million on that deal since they acquired of it. SIBO is trading right now under the market cap. I can pull up the thing. I think it closed around 23. Yeah, it closed at almost 23 exactly.
It has a market capitalization of $2.09 billion. So it would make sense for it to buy an exchange that is a quarter of its size, wouldn't it? That's about what you'd expect.
Then it could lock up all those sweet proprietary indices over at the ISE, like the water index and the FX options are actually pretty cool over there.
FCG, the FX option, and actually FCG is kind of interesting. That First Trust ICE natural gas thing is kind of interesting. That actually does a little bit of volume. But yeah, no, the currency stuff might be interesting. If the SIBO got behind it, they might actually be able to make a run at the PHLX indexes that are actually quasi-successful.
If NASDAQ gobbled them up, they could have the world currency and the FX options all under one roof together and really confuse the heck out of people.
Yeah, well, they'd probably just get rid of world currency.
Yeah, they'd probably or get rid of the FX. I think they do less volume, don't they?
No, that's what I meant, FX. They get rid of FX, right.
Yeah, and speaking of which, I'll have to do a volume update these days on A versus SPY to see. We checked them last week, I believe it was, and they had done 0 contracts.
I know. And any of the paper they've done has been me trying to play with them. I actually...
yeah, another 0 contract day today.
I called and complained, and the guy I feel bad for is Paul Gigante, who is their marketing guy, because he keeps going to, again, the market maker is Susquehanna. And I've literally have my bid in there, and this is how bad Susquehanna is at market making this product. I've had my bid in there. They've been a penny away. I've canceled my bid, and then their offer has been through my bid. That is how little they are attempting to fill orders.
That's classy.
And I explained that to Paul, and I don't know if you know this, but for some reason, somehow Susquehanna seems to have some sort of leeway with the PHLX.
Yeah, I wonder why.
But even Paul, who's an ex-Susquehanna guy, cannot get those, we'll call them pirates, to just. They could be doing really well with this product if they would fill even slightly away from market orders, and they won't do it.
That's a shame. I'm looking at these markets here, and you could drive a truck through them, so they have to step up somewhere.
If they would give a nickel, they would get a lot of volume. If you could buy the 154 puts for 240 instead of 245, they would get volume.
Double-edged sword. The market makers aren't playing ball, and I don't think NASDAQ/Philly has dropped the ball in the past with good products and promoting them. Look at the world currency. Very few people outside of the show even know what the heck those are.
Yeah, great.
I mentioned this to Paul, and I've told this to Tom Whitman in the past, who runs the Philly over there, that it's a shame that these products they have that are so inventive have really gotten no marketing support behind them. I've been trying to push them to do more on that front. Let's hopefully that they listen and they start doing that, because I'm looking at the open interest numbers here, and we got a 10-lot here, a 5-lot here, a 6-lot here. It's not exactly lighting the world on fire. Given all the interest we've been seeing in Apple lately, these things should really be doing a lot better.
That's exactly what I'm saying. They should be super busy.
I talk to a lot of people who subscribe to newsletters, and they're new to options and new to trading, and I
don't know if you know this, but I think OX is new to Wi-Fi.
In the world see options. Thank you. So anyways, they will, read, what they're supposed to do. And I will say that is just one product. Those world currency options trade really well. These people can really sort of understand, okay, I'm in a currency. Okay, I understand a call and a put. Okay, I see the bid here. I see the ask there. I really haven't met anyone who's new to trading or Forex or options. They're really good products.
Oh, yeah, I think we agree. I think we're lamenting the fact that they don't get more volume than they do.
Yeah.
All right. This has been an interesting trading block, but I think we should roll into the odd block.
The odd block.
We're going to kick things off with a silly name, good old OSK, Oshkosh Corp. A lot of people, when I say that name, they think of good old Oshkosh Bagosh, the kids' clothes. And this one could not be farther from them. They actually make armored trucks for the military. So talk about the polar opposite of product lines, even though they have almost identical names. It's kind of ironic.
Oshkosh is a nice city. I don't know if you've ever been there.
I have not. I only associate them really with children's overalls, and now, of course, heavy armored trucks. And Oshkosh closed today $24.96, down $3.84 or 13% on the day. And this is the name that does around 1,800 contracts a day. They did over 12,000 today. And what we saw was actually bullish call buying today, with pre-earnings traders really getting a bit of the shaft. Obviously they make armored trucks for the U.S. military. They just had earnings recently, and they posted a 68% drop in Q3 profits. So not surprisingly, the stock took a sharp downturn. And despite what we saw today, we saw a lot of people coming in, positioning for a bounce to the upside. We saw about 1,500 of the OCK 28s, which are, given today's move, substantially out of the money calls, going up for about 80 cents a piece. And let's see where these guys went out at the end of the day here. And they went out 60 at 75, so these are already down on the day. And then another 775 of the OCK 29s going up for 62 cents a piece, and those are substantially lower now as well. These obviously are some really people looking for some speculative bounces coming up by October in this name of who makes large armored cars for the military. We also saw, interestingly, going into earnings, which were, I believe, yesterday, we saw a lot of people positioning to the upside as well. We saw people coming in long-term, gobbling up the Jan 28s. Around 3,000 of those went up on Monday for a really hefty premium, about $4.40 each. Those people have since really been crushed by this earnings. They closed the bulk of those out, about 3,000, actually 3,000 of them, the full amount today, for about $1.31. So they lost about $3 on that trade. So a substantial loser if you were bullish going into earnings on Oshkosh. But nonetheless, some people undeterred are repositioning in October for an additional bounce to the upside. I'm guessing none of you guys play in the heavy armored truck manufacturer game.
Not heavy, just light. Just the light armored.
Just the light armored trucks. You're more of a striker
guy. I'm not an
M1
an M1 guy.
We invest in Batmobiles in the Tucson house.
Nice.
It's a good business to be in. They sell one and you're golden. All right, and then we're moving on to TWI Titan International, they closed today at $24.90, down to $1.11, and we saw a predominance of very bullish put selling activity out here in TWI. This is the name that does about 400 contracts a day, so usually a very light name. They did about 10 times that today, or 4,000 contracts today. This name, they produce tires and wheels for agricultural and construction vehicles. So very specialized niche field. They had better than expected Q2 earnings after the bell yesterday. The stock was up a lot early in the afternoon. Looks like and then it sold off towards the end of the day. I guess the debt concerns slammed these guys as well. But despite that movement, we saw a lot of people hitting the bids on TWI puts, particularly out in October. We saw October 25 puts being hit about 2,000 times this morning for about $1.41 each. We also saw, I think that's about the bulk of it. Yeah, so a lot of size put sellers in October on this one, expecting a bounce coming out of the earnings. These are now at the money puts, obviously going into this earnings announcement. Another obscure one that makes tires. I guess it kind of goes along with the theme
Mark,
today.
I can't believe you didn't talk Celsian Corp, where the $3.72 stock, 13,000 of the September 5 calls traded for 20 cents today. So I'm a little annoyed that you didn't talk about that one.
If you want one of those, I could. I wasn't going to bring it up, but we can discuss Clearwater, which is
CLWR.
Good old CLWR closed today at $2.15, or even cheaper than the $3 name, down 62 cents today, or about 22%. Of course, they got hit off. They are heavily linked to Sprint. I'm not sure if Sprint is the owner of Clearwire, just a heavy investor, but obviously Sprint is a major player in Clearwire. And this is the name that does about 4,000 contracts a day. They did 63,000 today, well over 10, almost 15 times their average daily volume. As you might imagine, given this name is a $2 stock, we saw a lot of really silly size spreads going up. One of the big ones was the December 3-1 put spread went up in a ratio 1-2, 6,000 by 12,000 times for 87 cents. They sold the December 3 puts for about $1.03, I think, and then bought the December 1 puts. How you like that? Buying the 1 puts. You gotta love that. I put that in there just for you, Sebastian, because I know you love these so much.
Thank you so much.
They bought those on splits to 16 cents and 17 cents.
Oh, nice. Nice.
So essentially, yeah, they're short the 3-1 put spread now.
Where would you and I be without $3 stocks that trade ridiculous amounts of options?
I love that they bought the downside too. They really want that one put protection. It's fantastic. It's like, if this stock goes to 1, I really want to cover my bases.
Oh man, I better not get stuck in this stock at 1.
I know. I love it. We might even if we have time, maybe we'll get into a listener question later about Eastman Kodak, which is in a similar vein. Okay, that's going to do it for the old odd block. A lot of silly names today. Like I said, a lot of the big paper coming off of earnings, or people holding their fire, waiting for this debt deal to be finalized. But we have some fun stuff that we could throw Mr. Sebastian's way. All right, and that's going to do it for the odd block. And now we're going to roll right into Around the Block.
Around the Block.
All right, and now welcome to Around the Block. This is the portion of the show where we discuss what's coming up on the horizon for the next few sessions. And as we discussed earlier in the program, in the trading block, obviously the debt kerfuffle, the debate, the unfolding scenario down there in D.C. is dominating everyone's attention. I heard a little birdie told me, Mr. Seabass, that you've been dabbling, shall we say, in the land of VXX. You don't need to reveal all your secrets here, but I know you've been trading size, Navabi size even out there in the volatility land.
Yeah, no, I started putting on some different types of vol plays to play the announcement that's coming out tonight, because I do think that it's going to be something that, and I'm going to write about this on a blog tonight, where if this vote goes through and then it passes the Senate, when the president puts his John Hancock on there, I think the VIX drops to about 30% in 3 days, just like it did in Japan. So, we're going to go from 24 down to about 17 like that.
That would be par for the course these days, given the moves we've been seeing in the old VIX. What about you, Mr. T, Uncle Mike Tusaw? I'd imagine you're not carrying a lot of positions through the weekend, and if you are, those are pretty heavily and tightly collared.
Yeah, we're definitely, like our marketing theme says, we're long-term bullish, short-term cautious, and we're very much leaning towards the latter half going into the weekend, that's for sure.
Yeah, this is one of those weekends where you have quite literal weekend risk. Obviously any given weekend, something could unfold, but this weekend in particular, if this debate and this deal does not get passed tonight, then going into the weekend, we will have a lot of last-minute developments that and we'll be seeing everything on CNBC and CNN with your last minute development of this debate, and we have quite literal weekend risk. So if you don't have a need to be long going into the weekend, underlying or what have you, then it might behoove you to close out some positions going into the old weekend. And of course, obviously, not much else really is dominating the headlines aside from the debt debate. We have some earnings next week. Any particular earnings you guys are watching in particular?
Barack Obama's earnings.
Yeah, I mean, this debt thing is it looks like it's going to pass the House. I'm reading now is that Boehner and Cantor both said they've got the votes to pass it. So it's going to pass the House, and then the question is, what will the Senate do? And my guess is the Senate will put it up for a vote, and then it'll be up to the president. Or we're going to compromise. One of those two.
If the VIX sells off, then drinks shall be on you, sir. And at the next,
many drinks will be on me. At the next
live event. And then, of course, obviously, Tusa, I know you're active in the auto sector, trading Ford. It's kind of hard to focus on this, but there are some numbers next week as well. Also, on the deadline day, Tuesday, we're seeing auto sales and truck sales numbers. And given that Ford is such a high beta stock, that may not have the impact it may have otherwise had given what else is going on August 2nd, but still has a number to watch if you're active in the Ford weekly options, as I know a lot of our listeners are. And just a quick update for you if you are trading Motorola, a final update on the earnings here. Looks like they've settled around 21.5 in the after hours. The stock is off about $1.40. MMI is not the widowmaker that Netflix was. It looks like it's going to stay relatively range bound, which is nice for, it looks like, the bulk of our audience who are out there selling straddles and strangles going into these earnings. All right, that's going to do it for Around the Block. That's also going to do it for this episode of the Option Block. I want to thank all of our listeners out there for downloading and streaming and subscribing to the show, as well as all of our merry hosts for joining me today. Starting off with you, Mr. Sebastian, what is coming up at OptionPit.com?
We've got this volatility class coming up in September that is sponsored by Price Futures and the Volatility Exchange and the CME. And it's going to be a updated version of my ever popular volatility course that I taught about a year ago, right about when we were starting this course. And if you use code OI12, it'll take 10% off the price. All right? So that's the type of people we are. So we're giving you 2012 discounts in 2011. Think about that.
That's quite the offer there, sir.
Go to optionpit.com/events.
And while they're there, they should check out that lovely video of you discussing contextual VIX on CNBC.
Yes, actually you should. I was very pleased with my appearance. So, and I'm going to be back on, it sounds like, because they are responding to my emails. So.
Please let me on. And despite my entreaties to avoid them like the plague, you, sir, have embraced them.
I'm a media whore.
Yeah, you got to do what you got to do. I understand. I don't have the need to sell that you do, so I can afford.
You are media. I'm a whore to you and CNBC.
Yeah, you're right. I have my own outlets that I can go to, which is nice. That means I don't have to sit there and listen to what's her name, the host of that Options Action.
Melissa Lee.
Listen to her try to...
She's great. I like her. She's very nice.
Try to discuss contextual VIX. By the way, you owe me $8 for using my contextual VIX phrase, so I will expect the check.
Oh, you're welcome. All right.
All right. And Uncle Mike Tusaw, what is coming up over at Know Your Options Inc., sir?
I'll be broadcasting live on Sunday night doing a webinar, Plan the Trade, Trade the Plan, and I'm curious to see if we have any news coming out that night that may alter some of the content in the webinar just from what's going on live. And so if there's stuff going on, I will be taking questions on what is happening. So stop by our website, knowyouroptionsinc.com, for more info.
Yeah, that'll be fun to be doing a live webinar during when all that is developing. It looks like we're getting Navabi back, so nope, we lost him. I was going to do an express block with him, but he's gone. So the OX Wi-Fi is just... They didn't really need to get those guys a freaking Ethernet cord, plug into the wall. All right, well, that is going to do it for this episode of the Option Block. I do want to remind all of our listeners out there, if you have some questions or comments or feedback for the show, then by all means post it in our forum at theoptionsinsider.com/forum. Just scroll on down to the Option Block section and post right there in our listener questions segment. We ran we started a little late today, so we didn't have a chance to get to some of your questions, but we have them lined up. We'll get to them next show. Don't you worry. You guys have been sending a lot of good feedback, and a few of you brave ones that have even been doing the voicemail, so maybe we'll play a few of those during the show. And, of course, you can reach us via Twitter, twitter.com/options, and I think you can reach Uncle Mike via Twitter as well as twitter.com/no options. What is it again?
KNOW options.
No options. There we go. So you can reach Uncle Mike there directly as well, and we take questions via there as well. You can also reach us via Facebook, facebook.com/optionsinsider. And we also posted some pictures up there from the live events. We'll be posting them on the Options Insider too, so if you didn't make it, you can see those pictures of what you missed. We'll also have some video from the event we'll be doling out soon, so you could check out some video of that as well, which was very, very fun. And I want to thank all of our members out here, including the Tim Navabi, who was bounced by the OX Wi-Fi gods yet again. Those guys over there really need to discover an Ethernet cord. So no express block today, unfortunately, but we'll have that back again on Monday as well. So I want to thank all of our listeners out there for downloading and streaming and subscribing to the show and making it such a success. And we'll see you next time right here on the Option Block.
Become a part of the Option Block. Just visit www.theoptionsinsider.com/forum to post a question for the hosts. You can also submit questions to twitter.com/optionblock or leave a voicemail at 312-544-9356. Make it interesting and your question just might make it on the air. The Options Block is property of the Options Insider Incorporated. All rights reserved. preceding program was a presentation of the Options Insider Radio Network. For more programs, visit www.theoptionsinsider.com/radio or search for Options Insider Radio in iTunes.